Hey guys, welcome back to the 5th Generation Free Will Baptist Podcast. This is Brother Noah, your host with you, and I wanted to come on here and make a real quick video, talk about, I posted something the other day. I realized that it was not up to par for me. I was really sick, just getting over this, and I was just sitting there thinking today if I should just delete it. What should I do? And so I do want to say apologies to those who watched it. I was sicker than a dog in that video. And so I was trying to get something out because I was really wanting to keep, when you're sitting there sick, you can't go outside. You get a lot of things on your mind. I had sermons. I didn't get to preach Wednesday night. And so I had a lot of things on my mind. And the video that I did, you could just tell I wasn't feeling good. And so today I want to come on here and fix that and talk about some things. Go back onto the subject of total depravity and really talk about that for just a few moments. And I want to talk about prevenient grace as well. I wanted to bring these two together. As I was sitting there and I got done with the video that I did, I started researching. I'm one of those people that I go back, research everything I said to make sure everything lines up. And when I did that, I started going into prevenient grace, and I just felt like I need to bring these together. And I watched the video just to make sure I said everything correctly. Realized that I sounded pretty sick, and I just felt led to do this. So I'm going to fix myself, fix this, and we're going to go through this really quick. And don't want it to be as long as the other day, and I don't want it to be as, I want to try to do these videos to where you have time to listen to it. At the same time, I don't want to keep you for hours. And so, start out this video, we're going to be talking about total depravity. As we talked about the other day, it is an important doctrine. It is something that is needed in our understanding for salvation. Total depravity is something that we hear our Calvinist brother uses a lot. And as Free Will Baptists, we fully 100% agree with their viewpoint. With the viewpoint of total depravity, I would go as far and say that total depravity is a Bible doctrine. And that is 100% something I would believe. I know many other Free Will Baptist preachers, other Calvinist preachers who would 100%, that is a necessary doctrine. Why? Because we are sinful. We are fallen men that have fallen because of Adam's sin that has come upon us. So we are totally depraved. As I read in the last video a few days ago, I want to look back at Romans verse number 3 with us one more time. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, it's still the most perfect verse. As I said, it is a verse that was what opened my eyes to start studying total depravity. So let's read it together. Romans 3, verse number 10 and verse number 11. And we are looking here up on our computer. Let's look at it together. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after God. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Paul is telling us here, he is giving us this understanding that we are born into sin, into the sin nature of Adam. So, when it comes to being depraved, when it comes to being a human, when it comes to being in total depravity, we're born into it. It's a nature that has been given to us. So Paul is saying, what's he saying in verse number 1? As it is written, there is none righteous. Now, that's what he says. He says, there is none righteous. So that cleans the slate, saying there is no good in any of us. Anyone who is born into the sin of Adam, no, not one. That's what he says. He's pretty much saying there is none of us. So there he is putting this there. He's saying there is none of us righteous, no, not one. So our righteousness, as the Bible would say, is as filthy rags. Before God, we are unholy, unrighteous now. I want to say this. Can a unholy man try to do holy things? Yes. And he can have good consequences from that. You can live a good life and still be unholy. Think of it this way. Somebody lived a good life, paid all his bills, raised a family, was good to the community, good to his children, he done all the stuff that we in human minds say is good, but he never fully accepted Christ. He never accepted that calling that God bestowed on him. He would be given the same punishment as the men that we think would be like the one that we don't ever say his name, the leader, the horrible leader of the past, Adolf. We would put him in a different category, but in God's eyes, for total depravity, because we are so fallen, because there was sin in his life that he never gave to Christ. There was that secret sin that the world never seen, because you can't tell me people don't have secret sins. When he goes to stand before God, his righteousness is just as Adolf's. His righteousness is just as any other sinful man. He may have lived a good life in our standards, but before God, he is sinful. Now, understand, what did Paul say in verse number 11? There are none that understandeth, there is none that seeketh after God. Now, he just told us that there is none righteous. We don't understand. He's saying there is none that understand it. There is none that can ever understand why they're not righteous. There is none that seek after God. So our unrighteousness in our human minds and our flesh makes us to where we do not want to seek after him. Our sinful nature causes us not to seek after God's will, but seek after our own pleasures. Or pleasures of others. But most of the time, it's really our own pleasures. We do good things because we want to pat on the back. Pretty much how that goes. So we have to look at this way. Total depravity is a sense of we're unrighteous before God. And we do not want to ever try. We can never go righteous before Christ, before God. And so understand, we're looking at this slate. In the free will mindedness view, we agree with 100% with the traditional view of totality. We are unrighteous, unholy, and we cannot go before God. We do not think anything before God. We are sinful. So as Paul has told us in these verses, because, you can go to a lot of verses on total depravity in the Bible. It says, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. So our righteousness is down. We cannot do anything to make us clean, pure, holy. We are sinners. For there is none that understand us. There is none that seeketh after God. We do not seek after his will. We go after our own will. So we stop there with total depravity. So we got the understanding that none of us can ever get to God without being with the human nature. Here is where I want to pause. And I want to say there's a difference between our Reformed brothers and Reformed Free Baptist brothers. And we're going to start seeing the differences. And we're going to understand that there's some big differences here. But this doctrine of total depravity, we 100% agree on. Knowing that we are all sinners. Knowing that we are in all need of a Savior. Knowing that we don't seek after God. As much as we want to think we do. As much as we want to get the pats on our backs. We do not seek after God. Now here's what I want you to understand. Here's where we divide. We believe in a thing called prevenient grace. And so understand, this is what I'm going to say. Prevenient grace says that God sent forth His grace. He calls us. He gives us the opportunity. He sends the grace out. And that grace goes out, and so we understand. We got to remember this. What did we just learn in total depravity? We just learned that we couldn't go to God on ourselves. We were unrighteous. We were unholy. Prevenient grace says that God gives His grace. When He died on the cross, He gave His grace. He sent out His grace, and He calls those to believe. And when we believe, now hear what I'm saying, but when He calls and we accept, when we give it, when He calls us and we accept that, we take a hold. We might be. He calls us like Lazarus. Listen, He called Lazarus like He called Lazarus, who was dead. We use that because we were dead. We take hold to that life that He gives us. He breathes the breath of life. We're alive. And so, understand, when He calls us and we go to Him, we rise up through Him, and we follow, take the gifts that He has given us. We accept the atonement in Christ. We are giving Christ. He's given us Christ. We still have sinfulness, but understand the sacrifice and the atonement has been made. I always like to say this at our church in New Jerusalem. I say it like this. When He looks, I like that verse in the Bible, and it just totally left me, so I'm not going to try to quote it. I will obliterate it. I can't remember exactly where, but when He looks at us, He sees His Son. And that's where the prevenient grace comes in. Why? Because we were so inherently sinful that even if we tried, if He did not call us, if He did not make the first move, if He did not extend out His hands or extend out His voice, whatever you want to say, if He did not prick the heart, it wouldn't matter. Why? Because we'd still be in the mess we're in. And see, we hold to this and we say that God sends that out, and we can either reject it. Now, that's the difference. We get to this a little later on these points, but understand, here's the difference is we can either reject it or accept it. And I find in the Bible that there is people who reject it. There's people who have been called and reject that. They reject it. They reject God's calling. And you say, people will be like, I don't agree. You find that in the New Testament. And I'm going to say one of the biggest people for me in the New Testament who rejected it in the Bible. And a lot of people say, well, a lot of you Armenians call from the Old Testament. I look a lot of things through the eyes of the New Testament. One of my favorite people, not favorite, Lord forgive me for saying it this way, one of the verses is the one who rejected and openly to Paul. He was before the king, and he told this king he was getting ready to be shipped to Rome, and that king says, almost thou hast persuaded me to be a Christian. There was a drawing there, and he rejected it. There was a drawing, because it hit home with him, but he rejected it. And so understand, if he never accepted Christ, which we don't find that in the New Testament, he rejected it. He's back to the state of that mind. He's back to that. And so understand, for our Free Will Baptist viewpoint, we say it like this. Men are totally depraved. But God's prevenient grace goes out. And we either can act, when I say act on it, we can reject it. It's possible. There's things in the New Testament that teach that. I mean, there's other stories in the other king. I always talk about like this. Christ was calling the rich young ruler. I straight up am one of those who believe that the rich young ruler was being called, and guess what? He doesn't. He rejects what Christ done. Now, is that the gospel? No. I'm not saying that. Not anything Jesus says. I'm not saying that the gospel is by faith alone, by grace alone, through faith alone. What I'm saying is there's instances in the Bible, in the time of Jesus, in the time of Paul, of people hearing the gospel openly rejecting it. But there's instances in the gospel of people accepting it, hearing it, and being lifted and being changed. And so Christ here, the gospel here is showing us, listen, that we were dead. We were sinful. And Christ died, and he came, and now, because of his, now look back on our verse. Now here's what I want you to look at. As it is written, there is none righteous, no one. Because of Christ, his righteousness brings us to God. Our righteousness will still never be good enough, but his righteousness is. His righteousness covers us. And so understand, here's what I want you to get. The total depravity of the situation is that we are so inherently sinful that without God moving in our life first, and moving and pricking the heart through the preaching of the Word of God, through the gospel message, and hear me, listen to what I say, can take a total depraved person and change their heart and life forever. Now, I'm not saying you'll ever be perfect. No. I'm not saying you'll ever be the perfect person. We still fall daily. And understand, we're going to mess up. People have this reputation with Armenians that if you mess up one day, you're done for it. That's not what we historical Free Will Baptists believe. And we will get into that in another episode because that one's a fun one in itself. But what I want you to understand today is we are totally depraved. But the prevenient grace of God swoops in and delivers that message and moves upon us. And we either going to accept it or reject it. And here's the thing. That's so powerful to me. Why? Because it gives you the understanding that we are sinful. The message comes. The Spirit moves, and you can be like the one to hear it and receive it gladly. You can be like a king. And you could be like Agrippa. And you can look at Christ and you can hear the gospel preached. And you can sit back here, as I always like to say, you can always tell when it clicks. Do they accept or do they not? Do they fall into the grace of God? And here's the understanding of this. Are you one of those who are almost persuaded and stay in your total depravity? Or are you get this? Now listen to what I'm saying. Are you the one that Christ changes and his righteousness falls upon you, and when you stand before God, you have been changed forever? And so today, guys, that is my thoughts. As a historical Free Will Baptist, that's what we hold to. Some may word it different. There's, as I said before, there's other men who can probably articulate this so much better. Sit down and listen to my Bible college professor before I even made this video when we talked about this, and I read some of Four Lines views, and I probably didn't say perfect. But remember, we do hold that we are totally depraved, but that prevenient grace comes and takes that heart and makes it from a heart of stone into a heart of flesh. And so, guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. A little longer than I wanted it to be. I'm going to try to make these a little shorter. I'm going to try to do that. But when I get into talking to the Bible, it gets carried away. So, books I recommend. I do want to start doing this. Backwards for y'all probably, but it is from he's not a doctor. Leroy Four Lines, Quest for Truth. It's backwards for y'all. Highly recommend this. Also, I recommend Classical Arminianism. Awesome book. Enjoy it, love it, and then check out the Free Will Baptist Handbook. Study these and also study others. Study Calvin, study Luther, study Arminius, study Augustine. All of them. Enjoy. Don't just get caught up in one thing. But this podcast is based to help us find and understand Free Will Baptist heritage, history, and all that, guys. I love you. So come join us next week when we gather together again, and we will be looking at free will or election. And so that is a fun topic and one that divides so many. And so thank you guys for tuning in to the Fifth Generation Free Will Baptist podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Noah Simpson. God bless.